Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. We're on a United show today, Devil's Advocate. And today, on this Tuesday afternoon, this is going to be a summer transfer window special. So today I'm going to break down all different areas I believe Manchester United should address this summer. So I'm going to obviously look at key players in them, all different positions, from all different clubs. Obviously look at the market value of them players, and also obviously the likable, chances that they're going to be come to the club or not, where it's highly unlikely or highly unlikely. I'll break all them things down for you. So obviously today I'm going to break down 4 different positions why I think United should address this summer. Now, obviously, when you look at Manchester United's board and you look at the way we do things, more often than not, we only address maybe 2 to 3 positions a season, whether it's obviously a striker or a centre back or any of them different roles. So today I'm gonna go through all of that today. Greg's in the house in the comments. Greg says afternoon. Afternoon to you, Greg. I hope you get well soon. Greg was actually meant to be on the show with me today, but Greg he's on well today, so hopefully he gets well soon. Jamie's also in the house in the comments today. Jamie says afternoon as well. Afternoon to you, Jamie. I hope you're well. So yeah, look, I'm just gonna go straight into it. So I suppose the 4 positions I believe Manchester United should address this summer: the centre back, centre defensive midfield, right wing, and striker. Now, again, as I said at the start, I don't think United are going to address all these this summer. I maybe think they maybe address maybe 2 to a maximum 3. But I'm going to go into all these positions, all these different players, market value, and how highly likely Manchester United would go in for this type of player. So I'm going to start first at centre back. So the first centre back I'm going to look at, who I think Manchester United should get, is Jules Koundé from Sevilla. This I've said this on the show with the last couple of weeks. I think he should be our number 1 target for centre back. I think Koundé is his attributes. He's a quick centre back, very good in the ball. He can bring the ball out from the back. He's quick. He kind of has all the same attributes that Eric Bailly would have, except he's not injury prone. So I think his market value as well, just looking at today, his market value is 54 million. And so when you look at that price tag in 54 million pounds, like that's not a premium. Like you're not looking at the 70s, 80s, what you'd be paying for like a Van Dijk or a Harry Maguire, as to what United have done in the past, like have United done in the past with Harry Maguire. So I think that's someone who I think United should definitely look at. In terms of centre-back, if you're talking about a centre-back to complement Harry Maguire, then look, by all means, Koundé would be someone, in my opinion, would be a fantastic centre-back for us. Rach is also in the house here today. Rach says afternoon. Hi Rach, I hope you're well. If you didn't check out last night's show of 3 Devils and a Gooner, do check it out on the Weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast YouTube channel. Very good show last night. They broke down obviously the Leicester game, the Europa League, and kind of all other Manchester United and Arsenal related topics. So do check that out. And Dean Fury is in the house. Dean Fury says Varane. That's actually someone who's on my list. I'm going to get to that in a moment. But like when you look at Jules Koundé, I think like you look at his age as well. Like he's 22, 23 years of age. You look at Koundé, he has that profile as centre back where he's at a decent age. He can develop, and he's already playing at a very good level. He played in Sevilla's team when they won the Europa League last season, played in the Champions League this year as well for Sevilla, played quite well too. So like he has the experience of playing at the top level. It's not like you'd be buying a 22-year-old centre back, let's say from the Premier League, and they don't have experience in Europe. This is a different type of thing. And again, as I said, like the attributes that he has would complement Harry Maguire in centre back if Harry Maguire is is a top centre-back option. So Jamie says also in the comments, Milinkovic is someone who we're looking at. I've seen now, I watched Phil Brown's show Beyond the Pitch, and he said the United are looking at him too. That wouldn't be a bad option either. He's a very good centre-back, but for me, just in my opinion, I think Koundé is a very good option. He's a right-sided centre-back. So like that's someone who I'd rate it there. I'm just going to come to more comments as well. Insider said Sevilla have also knocked £20 off Koundé's price. I'm after getting done there now. I'm after getting done. I'm always just after realising what the name was. Oh my God, I'm after getting done there, for fuck's sake. Anyway, moving on. Jamie says, we're also looking at Ben White. Yeah, look, I think when you look at Ben White, I think he's someone he obviously, like, he's English and he's playing well at Brighton, so he can also play centre back, centre defensive midfield. But when you actually look at, like, Ben White, you're going to get charged English tax as centre back. Like Brighton, if they stay up, they'll demand more for him. And is he a top level centre back who can actually make us better? I don't think he is. I think he's good to kind of add to the squad, but it's he is a very good option. Jamie says Paul Torres would also be better than Koundé, in my opinion. Yeah, Paul Torres is actually a very good centre back as well from Villarreal. Left side of centre back, he's very good in the ball. He has a similar kind of attributes to a Koundé. Again, coming from Spain as well, coming from Villarreal, they're playing very well under Unai Emery. They're playing very well in the Europa League this season. We may see him come up against Arsenal if they both get through the quarterfinals in the Europa League. So, by all means, look, he might be someone we may look at too. Greg also says in the comments that Koundé would be the dream, but Pau Torres is slightly more realistic. Probably will be. Like, it depends, I'd say, how like Villarreal get on the Europa League. If they go on to win the Europa League this season, would that be a realistic target? Because they may demand a premium for him again, in that regard. And Rach, yeah, I did get baited, Rach. I know, I kind of have the feeling who that person is as well with that who made that page. Look, it's all good. This is my first time doing a show on my own live, so it was bound to happen at some stage. But yeah, like, it's come to NLC, they say, I'm not sure about Ben White, not a starter for United in my opinion. I'd love Varane. That's exactly who I'm coming to next. So I obviously have 4 different centre backs who I think who should be Manchester United's target to obviously make our backline better. So the next centre back I have is Rafael Varane from Real Madrid. Now, obviously, there's been talks in the last couple of weeks that Rafael Varane, that there is unrest at Real Madrid, and he may be looking for a way out of the club. Obviously, Euro's coming up. If he plays well, other clubs may be interested in him. I know Manchester United have, especially Ed Woodward, have had a long-standing interest in Rafael Varane. We've been interested in him since like 2013, 2014. So definitely a player who should be on our radar. I've done some research in terms of what his current market value is. Market value at the moment is £63 million. Now, obviously, with the Euros coming up and also, being Manchester United coming from, there will obviously be inflation in that. There will be a more premium price to that. So that's what transfermarket.co.uk said, that it's £63 million as current market value is. But obviously, market value is one thing, but then there's obviously, there's more. There's more obviously things to break down. Obviously, contract length. United coming in from, obviously that bumps up the price by about 10-20 million anyway. So yeah, look, I think when you look at Rafael Varane, he's all the attributes to be kind of the best. Though when you talk about best centre backs in the world, he's right up there in terms of that. When you look at what he can do, he's good on the ball, very commanding in the air, experienced. He plays for France. We'd have a relationship with Paul Pogba. Obviously Harry Maguire, it kind of helped him the way that he wouldn't be kind of the only kind of leader in the back four. In that regard. And obviously, look, it comes to Jamie's comment there. Like I said, we should have signed Varane 3 years ago. He's still a class, but Madrid want 90 million. Like, again, that's what I said, like the transfer value. Like, when you look at market value, that doesn't obviously represent what club will actually demand for him. Like, obviously, when you look at his contract and stuff like that, 63 million is probably right, but then obviously the club would value him a bit more. To obviously, if you want to get a club's best player, you have to pay the premium price. So like 90 million would be that. But like as Jamie says again, like Madrid see United come knocking, they'll add another 30 million on top. That's the thing. Like, I think when you look at any club, like especially a club that isn't in a bit like who are not in a position to sell a player, like Real Madrid probably are in terms of the back four. I think Varane, would be, like, you put 30 million on top of that. He's probably right. Like, and you're probably looking at 90 to 100 million probably at a realistic sense when you look at kind of different clubs coming in. Now, obviously, let's say if a Chelsea or Manchester City or someone come in from, they probably won't demand as much money than Man United, because Man United are stuck in that position. I think this is what happens every time we go in for a player, and this is probably why we only signed about 2-3 players a window is because when Man United come knocking, we have to pay a premium. But I think he'd be my second choice. This is why I'm gone from first to fourth, like in terms of centre backs who I think United should get this summer. That's coming to Jamie Gretton's comment here. Jamie says, Kunde, Varane, Torres, Sule, any of them would take this summer. Yeah, all solid choices for a centre back. Sean Dowley's in the house. I reckon Sean was that person earlier on in the chat as well, because I know he's some man for baiting as well. So I'm gonna investigate that after this. But Sean said, I think Kunde is a solid shout. Yeah, I agree. He's my number one choice in terms of centre back and profile. That who would there'll be a good option to come in for us as centre back. Greg says not a fan of Sule. Doesn't have the turn of pace we need. And Torres at Kunde would be ideal. I agree. But the next one I was going to come to Stretty News and shout out to Dale O'Donnell. This would be Dale's ideal 11. He says something like this: Dean Henderson, Aaron Bissaka, Harry Maguire, Skriniar, Sancho, Bissouma, McTominay, Shaw, Bruno, Greenwood, Rashford. Yep, that's a solid lineup, and I like the 3-4-3 shout as well. McTominay and Bruno. McTominay, Bissouma in midfield, Bruno then the front three. That would actually be a very fluid front three there, especially like movement wise. The interchange and movement there would actually be quite good. But looking into this, obviously, like another centre back who has been linked with us down the years, and like, look, do I think this is going to happen? Absolutely not. But another centre back who's been linked with us is Sergio Ramos. Now, look, I'm going to just throw it out here straight away. Do I think this is going to happen? Absolutely not in a million years. But when you look at profile of player, when you look at what Thiago Silva has done for Chelsea in terms of being that very experienced player and coming in and making a difference to their back four compared to what they were last year in terms of leaking goals, Sergio Ramos is a player who I think could make a difference. Do I think Manchester United are going to get him? Absolutely not. I don't think when you look at profile of player in terms of the back four, would they go for a short-term option when you're looking at the kind of current profile of player we're buying in terms of buying young players who can kind of get better and maximize their potential and have resale value? I don't think Sergio Ramos was probably on our radar, but if you're looking for, in my opinion, a stopgap option to maybe build up Mengi for next year, I think Sergio Ramos will be that kind of player to help a stopgap in terms of getting someone in beside Harry Maguire to maybe make him even better as well, and obviously learn off someone who's world class. Obviously, the last centre back who was on my radar, who I said United should be a target for United, is Milan Skriniar, who actually Dale mentioned in the comments earlier on. £50 million is his transfer value. Again, when Manchester United come in, you're probably looking at maybe 10, 20, 30 million added on top of that, because again, when you're your biggest club in the world, you're going to have that tax added on. I'm just going to come to a couple of more comments just before I expand on that. Nicole's in the house. How are you this afternoon, Nicole? Hope you're well. Greg says, I think he's talking about Skriniar here. He wouldn't be as good. We need someone quick alongside Maguire to make up Aaron Wan-Bissaka's position. I agree. Gary Egan is also in the comments. Say, nice to have a Liverpool fan here on the United show here today as well. Gary says, hello, Gareth. I hope you are well. Jamie says this, and this is my biggest fear, and he's actually just addressed that as well. We'll probably end up with Tyrone Mings on deadline day for 60 million. Oh, do what? If that happens, man. I'll come back to this comment on deadline day if that happens this summer. Trust me. Nicole says, thoughts on Boy's alleged comments about being treated badly at the club. I adore him. He's mental and I love that, but I don't see how he's being wronged. So before I expand on Skriniar, I'm actually going to just address Nicole's comment there just with regards to Eric Boy. So at the moment, obviously, Manchester United have offered Eric Boy a 3-year contract this summer. Apparently, Eric Boy is not accepting that because he believes he's been wronged by the club, and he believes he's not getting the appropriate game time. I'm just going to come to this now because I can kind of see both sides this season. Obviously, Lindelof and Maguire for large stretches this season, they've played well in certain games and they've done reasonably well. But when Eric Boy's come in, he's been our best centre back. He's been our best performer. I think it's madness at one stretch for United offering him a 3-year contract when you consider his injury record. Very good. I agree with Nicole. He's mental. He's great. But with his injury record, I think United should probably be looking to move him on. In terms of his comments about being treated badly. Like, he's been fit this season, and he's been put on the bench for numerous games this season. And I can understand probably from his point of view, like, when you see that Eric Boy's probably this pipe in the season where he's been fit the most probably, and he's been benched for a number of games this season, that's probably why he feels wronged. But when I take a longer term view at this, like, you have to say, like, his injury record over a 3-4 year period, us offering him a 3-year contract is ludicrous. Like, I love him. I think he's a fantastic footballer, great centre back. And if he went to La Liga again, like, with his injury record, he probably wouldn't be as bad. But when you look at his injury record, when you look at, the amount of times he's played, like, you can't really say that he deserves a contract. And I feel horrible saying this because he's one of my favourite players at the club, but you have to be realistic. You have to have your thinking cap on. You have to look at everything from both sides. And I think, like, look, it's time to move him on. I don't think a 3-year contract, I don't think it's feasible to keep him on that 3-year contract. I'm going to go back to Milan Skriniar. With regards to why I think United should buy him. Again, he's very experienced centre back at Inter Milan. Very commanding, experience playing at the top level. Now, his only flaw is that he doesn't have that much pace, but neither does Lindelof. And he plays all right in that centre back role. So, like, for me, I think Milan Skriniar would be a good option. He's £50 million, and that's the transfer value. Again, as I said, when you look at United and you look obviously United tax, there's probably reasons why, and though Inter Milan may look for 70-80 million for him, but on the flip side, they haven't fully paid us for Romelu Lukaku yet. So maybe we can, if we're going in for Skriniar, maybe we can make a little allowance there, in that regard. But again, he's a top centre back, and I agree with Dale. He would be someone that would fit our team. He is quality, and he's someone who could definitely improve us at the back. But they're my 4 options. So I'm just going to just go back to him. I'm just going to recap quickly. So Koundé, Varane, Ramos, Skriniar, they're the 4 centre backs I think United should look at. Obviously, there's little outsiders like Pau Torres, who United could look at, Milinkovic, who we've discussed at the start of the show. And I'm going to throw one out there to all of you. Obviously, he's not world class, not world level, but he's played really good in the Premier League this season, and he's versatile. He can play centre back and left back. What did the comments think about Ben Godfrey from Everton? Is he someone that you'd maybe look at? He can play centre back and left back. He's quick, good on the ball, and he's English as well. So do let me know in the comments what you think about Ben Godfrey as an outside choice. And before I get to defensive midfield, I'm just going to come to Jamie's question here. He says, Keane, can you see Tuanzebe leaving if we bring in a centre back? Also, remember, Philip Jones is here still. Yeah, I try to forget that man is still at this club, Jamie. I always try to forget every day. But if France are in the state, like, imagine this year he has a testimonial. So, like, that's crazy. Thank God he turned it down, because that would have been a sad occasion for all of us. But just coming back to your question, obviously, I think Tuanzebe, Ollie likes him. He speaks highly of him. But again, he's someone with an injury record. And maybe United can is this a time where it's stick and twist? Because what's he, 23 now? 24. Does Ollie look at him and say, do we send him out for a 1 year on loan and maybe to a Premier League club? And let's see what he does for a full season in the Premier League, and then bring him back. Let's say if we don't address the centre-back position this summer, because obviously, like, we sent him out to the Villa like 2 seasons ago in the Championship, and he played very well there. Like, with Tuanzebe, do you maybe say, look, go out on loan, to, let's say, maybe a Villa in the Premier League, or maybe send them to, like, if they stay up at Brighton under Graham Potter, though a team that plays good football, and maybe send them there for a season, and obviously he'd be a bit more experienced then, and hopefully he can get more games under his belt, and and come back. Because I think we've seen from Axel, sometimes he's played that he can do a job and he can play well. Like that game in Paris, like he was a top. He played a top game. Like you can see he can hang with the top players. So look, for me, I don't get rid of him yet. I maybe send him out on loan for a season and let's see him get more experience in the Premier League and let him get a full season under his belt in the Premier League. And let's reassess it then. I think it'd be a bit rash to sell him now and then, God forbid, he goes to another team in the Premier League or even goes to Germany, let's say, like other young English players have done, and they've played well, and then we go back in for a premium. So, look, for me, I think if you're going to do anything with him, worst comes to worst, send him out on loan and, maybe reassess it in a year's time and let's see where we are with Tuanzebe. But look, I wouldn't get rid of him as of yet. Greg doesn't agree with me at all. And Greg says Tuanzebe should go. He's dire. Greg, I think this is in relation to Ben Godfrey, top player, great defensive awareness, sniffs out danger really well, will be expensive. Yeah, I agree. I said I'll throw it out to you in the comments because he's someone who I actually really highly rate. And he's not someone who's really massively talked about in terms of centre backs United should look at. But for me, I really like him. Now, obviously, probably never going to happen. But look, it's someone who I think if you're going out of left field, he's someone who I really do rate. Dale says, jokes aside, I would monitor Calvin Phillips at Leeds United. Dale, I think we actually talked about this I had you on there a couple of months ago. This is well before Christmas. And we said United should go in and snip up Calvin Phillips and Leeds like we did with Alan Smith years ago. It wouldn't be a bad shout, to be fair. As someone who he is playing fantastically well at Leeds, even though Bruno Fernandes did tear him a new one at Old Trafford, and that was very satisfying to see in that regard. So yeah, definitely a good shout in terms of maybe monitoring his future progress. Jamie says I take Ben Godfrey, a good shout. He's rapid defensively, he's up there, the best centre backs in the league. Yeah, I agree. Rachel says we get done over with Godfrey just like we did with Harry Maguire, and if he doesn't smash it, he'd be hated. Yeah, I suppose you're probably right. I think, again, young English centre-back at a top 6, top 7 club, top 8, you would have to pay a premium. But I said, look, I'd throw that one out to the comments. There would be a good option. But I'm going to come to, obviously, now the defensive midfield, because I think, this is probably the most important position Manchester United addressed this summer. Because obviously, when you look at the centre defensive midfield position at the moment at the club, we're playing 2 defensive midfielders. We're playing McTominay and Fred there, who are probably not natural defensive midfield players, but we're playing them there in that position to plug that gap. Obviously, defensive midfield, there is a massive amount of defensive midfielders in world football who I think would improve us at a big level, who would bring us up to a different level and actually allow us to play 4-3-3, what Ollie did play at the start of his tenure. At the start of his tenure at Man United back in 2018. In that respect. But I have 4 defensive midfielders here. Now, I'm just gonna throw a disclaimer on this straight away. In that regard. 3 of them are gettable. One's unrealistic because that club will pull their pants down in the past. I think you all know what club that is. But I'm going to name out 4 defensive midfielders, what their market value is. Obviously, look, again, United tax does come in there as well. But these are 4 players who I think would massively improve us at defensive midfield, and would give us the opportunity to obviously play Bruno and Pogba in the same midfield, and obviously maximize their full potential in terms of playing in advanced positions on the pitch. Obviously, the first defensive midfielder I went for is Zakaria from Borussia Mönchengladbach. He's a great player, and he can play defensive midfield. Can actually also play centre back as well, funnily enough. And he's very mobile. He's decent on the ball. Now, look, he was okay against City, but look, I don't think any player looks world class when you play against Manchester City. I watched him in the Champions League; he's quite good. And last season when the Bundesliga came back, when we were doing them watch-alongs at the start of the week, the armchair kickoff. Anyone who knows us from start, Dale would know who's in the comments there. He's obviously a good player, so he'd be someone who we can look at. And obviously, the market value is £36 million. That's actually his release clause. So look, when you actually look at that, it would be a realistic sign that United could get that amount of money, and it's not a premium that you'd maybe look at for another defensive midfielder who's actually on my list here. I think he's a very good player, and again provides that platform to, let's say, let Bruno, let Pogba stay in them defensive, in them kind of offensive midfield positions, and to obviously it gives us more of an attacking outlet to have them two in the same midfield. Because I think because we're playing the two defensive midfielders in McTominay and Fred there, what you are doing is that you're putting Pogba out on the left wing, and I think, like, look, yes, he's doing well out there, but he's better through the middle, and he's better playing in the left side of a tree and that number 8 position. So, like, for me, I think most definitely get a defensive midfielder. Zakaria is one of my choices here. I've done the defensive midfielder in no particular order because I've kind of gone with the cheapest midfielders first in terms of gettable midfield players. I was going to come to a couple of comments just before we go. This person, who I'm not going to say their name because I've already got baited, they said still have a feeling Rice will end up at Chelsea. Probably not because the Frank Lampard thing. I think that ship is sailed. NLC says 100% defensive midfielder is our biggest issue. Jamie Gretton says Declan Rice is worth 120 million according to David Moyes. David Moyes says a couple of ludicrous things. I wouldn't really take what he says with a pinch of salt, to be quite honest. And Dale says Calvin Phillips is better than Declan Rice. He also says, jumping across to YouTube and said that's where the real party's at. Absolutely, Dale, that's where it is. You know yourself. Dean Fury says he rates Declan Rice highly. Absolutely, I think he's he's a fantastic player. Sean says Zakaria is top notch. I agree. I think, look, he's someone who definitely can improve us. And like when you look at the transfer value, like in terms of the fee, he's so gettable. He's someone who can definitely come in and definitely do a great job. Sean reckons Declan Rice is better than Calvin Phillips. Again, an Irish midfielder is better than an English one. We never really hear that much. Jamie says, to be honest, at the moment, Jeff from the Sunday League is a duck and horse better than Fred. You're probably right. Fred isn't playing the best at the minute. Sean says, from what he's been hearing, the ship definitely hasn't sailed on Declan Rice. I hope not. I hope Chelsea don't get him because that would definitely improve them. And Greg says 50 million plus Lingard for Rice. They'd have to consider, if not him, then Bissouma. So I'm actually going to, before I get to Declan Rice, because he's obviously going to be in my midfielders, I've been vocal on the show, and in the last kind of couple of months, I put my Ireland/England differences aside in that regard on Declan Rice. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But the next one is actually a player who played against us recently in the UEFA Europa League, is Kessie from AC Milan, defensive midfielder, market value 36 million. And Kessie's actually been quoted, after the first leg. The quotes have came out, like in 2017, he was saying like Manchester United is the dream for him in the Premier League. Like he obviously said Man United is a dream. He also quoted Chelsea as well, that would be a good team to go to as well in the Premier League. But we've seen Kessie over 2 legs against us. Played very well in midfield, dictated the game. He has a good strike on him as well. And he gets about the pitch, and again, he provides that defensive cover. That obviously we lack at the minute, like in a sole defensive midfielder, that we had to play two defensive midfielders in there, in McTominay and Fred. So yeah, definitely, I think Kessie, like £36 million, obviously you might have to bump that up to about 40 or 50. He might be someone who we can definitely look at. But yeah, he's a quality player, and he's a bit of an unknown quantity as well, though in Europe at the moment. So definitely someone we can look at. And Dale has said, get Cathy Ferguson on the coaching team and we'll win the league. Oh, stop. Stop. Eamon says, do a deal for Lingard and Rice. Yep, that's definitely a possibility. You can definitely, I think if United wanted to obviously use a make way for Declan Rice, you definitely maybe offer Lingard as part of that deal to bump down the fee. Rachel says about Kessie, first leg he played like he was playing for a contract. Absolutely, that was like an audition, weren't it, at Old Trafford, with the way he played that day. He was basically saying, Ollie, sign me up, Ed Woodward, sign me up. Like that's that performance basically said. But yeah, like, look, I think he's a good midfielder. Again, will the club look at him? I don't know. Like, obviously they look for a certain profile of player. They kind of look towards more British-based players as well in the Premier League too. So, look, for me, I think Kessie is definitely someone that I'd be looking at if that was me, if I was in that position. But look, again, there's more qualified people in them positions, or we'd like to think people who are more qualified in them positions. Obviously, look and obviously assess defensive midfielders who can definitely improve us. I'm going to come to the next one because this is someone me and Dale actually spoke about on the Stretty News podcast last July. We talked about this player. We were talking about kind of Irish people, like a player who was playing for Ireland, obviously moved to England and playing quite well at West Ham at the minute and playing decent for England too, is Declan Rice. Obviously, look, apparently West Ham will be looking for maybe north of 80 to 100 million for him. So, like, when you look at the form of Jesse Lingard at West Ham, I believe this is a doable deal. I think maybe United offer maybe north of 50 million pounds for him, and maybe say, look, you can have Jesse Lingard on top of that too. I think that's something that's such a doable deal because of the form of Jesse at West Ham. And look, I just want to say, just aside that, I'm absolutely delighted for Lingard the way he's playing at West Ham at the moment. I think, look, to see him kind of rejuvenate his career from what it looked like, to see him rejuvenate his career and see him to play kind of the way he is at the moment, and to see kind of him look happy again and get back into that England squad, I think it's fantastic to see. And look, I hope he continues that form, and I hope he gets into England's Euro squad as well, because it'd be a great deal to do. And you know, even if he comes back to United and manages to play well, if United get rid of Van de Beek or something like that, like I heard that recently, that United maybe looking at getting rid of Van de Beek. Someone who says he has sources said that might happen. So look, I personally am really happy for Lingard at the moment, and look, I'm you know, whether he stays at United after he comes back from loan, or whether he goes to West Ham or anywhere else, look, I hope, I just wish the best for him. Dale says, if Rice were 80 million, Lingard costs 50. Yeah, look, I think we can bump up the Lingard tax if he keeps playing the way he's playing. Every goal he scores, that Ed Woodward be bumping up them zeros on the transfer fee. So absolutely. But you know yourself, Dale, like English tax, you know, United tax, all that considered, this is why these clubs look for these ridiculous amount of money for him. Like when you break it down in real time, you like he's probably worth maybe 50 million pounds if you're looking at a realistic sense. Declan Rice probably only worth that when you consider, you know, Chelsea paid 40 million for Danny Drinkwater, so or 30 or 40 million, was 1 to 2 anyway, for Danny Drinkwater. So like when you look at that, I think the 50 million pounds for Rice is definitely a reasonable price. But as you said, like as we say, the inflation, it will always be there. And again, when United come calling, it's just they bump up the pounds on it. Like, but obviously the last midfielder I have in here is Wilfred Ndidi. Now, obviously we've seen how well he played against us on Sunday. And he just ran that midfield, didn't he? He broke up everything. He was first to every ball. He was just commanding out there. Now, do I think United are going to go in for him? Absolutely not. I don't think United are ever going to do business with Leicester City ever again, because we had our pants pulled down for Harry Maguire at 80 million pounds, and if we paid 80 for Maguire, I'm scared to think what they'd actually look for Ndidi from us. So, for me, if we could afford him, and if United were willing to do business with him, then yeah, go in for him, because I think he's probably the best defensive midfield player in the Premier League at the moment. But I think United will refuse to do business with Leicester City ever again, just because of the way that Maguire deal went down, and kind of obviously, like, look, Maguire's playing well now at the moment, but is he worth 80 million? Definitely not. Like, I don't think he is. And like, I think we did have our pants pulled down for him, and there's no other way to describe it. Like, we literally got robbed for him. Leicester City have been laughing at that ever since, and look what they've done. They can get Soyuncu in, Joe Fofana in for lesser money, and who I'd argue are probably on par, or if not better than Maguire. So, like, I think, do United go in for Ndidi? I don't think so. But in an ideal world, I think United go in and buy him. I think that's what I do. But obviously, look, we don't live in ideal worlds. We live in a realistic one. So we have to look at that and say, Wilfred Ndidi off the cards. I went for right wing as well as a position that United should definitely look at. I think, look, post Sir Alex Ferguson, this has been a position that United haven't addressed appropriately. Kind of, to post Sir Alex, we've tried a couple of players there. Obviously, we had Angel Di Maria out there. We all know how much of a snake he is. That didn't work. And even though he was moved all over the place and he was playing there, Obviously, we tried to address it with Henrik Mkhitaryan. That didn't work. We tried to address it with Alexis Sanchez. That didn't work. So I think like United need to be sensible in terms of the way, in terms of how they go in there and how they address this position. Obviously, the name that's on the tip of everyone's tongue, and it's on every United broadcaster, every journalist, every channel out there in terms of right wing where United should go, is Jadon Sancho. For me, if the deal is doable, you go out and get him. I think he's a top class player. He's someone who epitomizes that right wing position that everything a Manchester United right winger should be. So he's creative, he's quick, he scores goals, he's a great crosser of the ball, he's fluid, like, and he beats a man. I think that's something we've been missing at the right wing position, is a right winger who can actually beat a player. And I think Jadon Sancho is that type of player. And again, like, he's probably someone who comes in and wears that number 7 shirt. And for me, Sancho comes in and wears that number 7 shirt with arrogance too. I think that's something we've been missing. Anyone who's got that number 7 shirt, it's overwhelmed them. And I think Sancho has the arrogance and has the quality to come in and wear that burden on his back, like with the number 7 shirt. So I think, look, you look at Sancho. Obviously, Dortmund wanted £120 million from last summer. Ed Woodward stood firm and said no, he's not paying the money. And we look at 12 months later, it looks like Dortmund are lowering their stance in terms of the transfer fee. So if Ed Woodward manages to get him cheaper than that price, as much abuse as I give him, I think he'd be after playing a blinder in terms that if he goes and manages to get him for cheaper and he comes in and makes an impact, look, I think Woodward be after playing a blinder with that. But again, I'm going to lessen my Ed Woodward praise because I don't want to be seen as a Woodward apologist, because people twist your words. So I'm gonna leave that there. Obviously, look, if Sancho isn't available, I've looked at kind of 3 other wingers that who would definitely kind of better us in that position. Now, obviously, again, likable, I suppose, how likely it is for United to get these other wingers is out of the question. The first one I looked at is obviously Ousmane Dembele from Barcelona. I think, look, 45 million they're saying his market value is. Like, I think Barcelona being strapped for cash too as well. I think he's a very gettable player. The only thing that concerns me obviously is his injury, record. I think he's someone who he would improve us, but again, it's just, do we go out there and buy him with the kind of injury record he has? Because we've seen it with Eric Bailly come into the club, like, from Spain. He had an injury record, and like, does Dembele come in and can we trust him to stay fit? I don't know. But when you look at the transfer fee, again, you look at United, you look about wanting to cut costs, you plug a gap, but you also save some money too. So, look, I think Dembele would be a sensible option, like, in terms of fee. But again, injury record and consistency, do we take the risk? I think United are done taking risks in the transfer window now. So I think for me, someone who you can get, but again, it's someone who I'm 50-50 on it, really. I think he's a good player on his day, but I'm going to play devil's advocate, is what the show is named. Do you go out and do you take the risk on his injury record? That's what remains to be seen. Before I come to the other 2 right wingers, I'm just going to come to a couple of comments. I had a comment there, but my page, there you go. It says, I reckon Sancho will be wrapped up quickly after the Euros. No saga. We know what they want, and Dortmund will want the money. Send Van de Beek the other way as well. Yeah, look, it's not a bad shout. Like, I think if that'd probably a deal that'd work for all parties, and I think if Van de Beek was going to go anywhere, I think Dortmund would probably be the right place for him to go. I think he'd be the right profile of player for that football club too. So we'll see in that one. Jamie says, I still think we'll sign Sancho in the summer, especially if Dortmund miss out on the Champions League football. They'll need to sell him, losing prize money, etc. Yeah, absolutely. I think, look, we'll see what happens with that. I think Dortmund may still sneak it. Champions League football, I think they have enough quality to kind of to get over the line. But look, fingers crossed. Sean, Chelsea fan, says Sancho will be one big summer signing. Well worth the money. And he says big signing. Sorry, I knew what you were saying, Sean. Don't worry. So Jamie also says, Sancho agreed personal terms, so just got to pay the money at the end of the season, and he's ours. Yeah, look, as you do, you kind of have to cough up, don't you? Like, I think that's what you have to do at the end of the day. Dale says, we ran a pretty big story last year about Ferran Torres. United had watched him a number of times before City swooped in, and we know they're scouting a lot in Spain at the moment. Yeah, so yeah, like that comes back to Dembele. Like, that's someone who's in the league at the moment. Obviously, but there's still a lot of great attackers in the Liga, at right wing and at left wing. So, like, it remains to be seen if United dip into Spain. It mightn't be a bad option, because will the transfer fees be as high as you go to a Dortmund, or if you go for a right winger in the Premier League? That remains to be seen. Like, I think what United have kind of done, they've done well, especially with the Bruno Fernandes deal, is that they went abroad. The United shopped abroad, and we've got kind of good deals. Like, you look at the Fernandes deal, that was £47 million. Like, if we went in and looked for like a Kai Havertz, I'd say, for example, now I think I think Havertz could go on to be a fantastic player for Chelsea, but Chelsea had to pay like the 80-90 million for him, and he's starting to hit the ground running now. But though the jury's out, and you're going buying a player for that price, like, you're always going to have that pressure. Like, you look at other like attacking midfielders in the world, like Odegaard. Arsenal may get him for a cup price deal off Real Madrid at the moment, and he's playing very well for Arsenal. And that's another player from La Liga that they went in and they've shopped abroad. Like, I think what United should definitely do at the minute is definitely look outside the Premier League for certain positions, and you can find good value. United have done it in the past, like Cristiano Ronaldo. They went out and got him, though, from Portugal. Do you know what I mean? So, like, there's plenty of good players that you can go out and buy in world football. You don't just have to be like, looking in England and kind of being Brexit FC or whatever it's called. Like, but look, there's definitely a lot of good players out there. And like, if United are looking in Spain at the minute, like, you look at, obviously there's right wingers that are like such as Rodrigo, Ansu Fati's out there. There's plenty of good young wingers out there who United can definitely look at to maybe plug that gap at right wing or left wing. So look, it's definitely remains to be seen kind of what we do to kind of do more scouting in that regard. The other right winger I have, and I actually goes back to the Premier League. Now, I know Dale actually talked about a player from Leeds United in Calvin Phillips at holding midfield, who isn't a bad shout. Someone who I looked at, and I don't know how realistic this will be, but it's someone who was a very good player, and he's playing well in the Premier League for Leeds United at the moment, is Rafinha. I think he's a player who United should definitely look at in terms of right wing. Like, if you don't get option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4, Rafinha should definitely be on your list. He's a very good player, right winger, from Leeds United. Very direct, very skillful, and he's a player who was proven in the Premier League. He's doing it this season. The only obviously caveat there is, do Leeds United do business at United? Probably not. Though Leeds United being another English club, charge Manchester United premium, and probably United pay over the odds for him. So, like, in that regard, I think for me, Rafinha would be an option, probably 4th, 5th choice option, but definitely someone who United should look at if we fail to land all them targets. Because look, we know in the past, sometimes we don't get our first choice targets, and sometimes we might have to get someone different in that position. So Rafinha definitely is a player who I'd maybe look at and say, if we can't get Sancho, can't get Dembele or anyone like that, maybe go out and have a look at Rafinha and see if we can get a deal done for him. In that regard. Bits and Bobs also in the house. He says, smash the like in the video. Absolutely do. As Bits and Bobs there says, smash the like in the video. Do subscribe to the channel. A lot of content coming. I'm actually back tonight at 8 o'clock as well with the United podcast tonight. I'm joined by Shane and Adam from Adam Match TV. So yeah, look, do check out our podcast at 8 o'clock as well. So that's the link is on the channel at the moment. The link is already up. So do smash the like. Another player who actually I completely forgot about, guys, and Jamie's after reminding me there, is Pedro Goncalves from Sporting Lisbon. Again, anytime we've shopped for Sporting Lisbon, we've done well. Obviously, Ronaldo, Nani, Bruno Fernandes. We have a good track record buying players from there. Goncalves is a good player, and I've always seen him a small bit this year, but from what I've seen, he's a very good player. And again, we have a good track record from buying from Sporting Lisbon. So yeah, absolutely. If we can't get Sancho or anyone else like that, definitely have a look at him. But Jamie says Pedro Neto. Again, look, he's a fantastic footballer too. I think, like, again, I think that'd be a hard deal to do, because you look at Wolves, they're selling Diogo Jota for 40 million to Liverpool, and you've seen how well he's done there. And United can't call him. That's a hard deal to do. I think it's a very hard deal to do, just because, again, it's another English club, English tax, United tax. Like, sorry, he's Portuguese, but obviously another English club. You know yourself, it gets bumped up. But yeah, look, it's definitely a quality player. United should look at him, but again, the likelihood of the deal is very low. Dean Fury has says, can you quickly recap the right wingers? I was on a call, haha. Dean, I love the way you have me on while you're working, so that's great. That's good. But yeah, I'll just do a quick recap on the right wingers. So I'm about to get to the striker positions there now. So my right wingers were Jadon Sancho, Ousmane Dembele, and Rafinha. Now, I had a fourth right winger in Kingsley Coman, but look, I'm not going to get into it. I don't think United are even going to look at that deal. But that's another person who I think is quality, but again, likelihood very low. So yeah, they're the right wingers I said, and obviously the lads have also threw great suggestions in the comments too. So yeah, look, these are all quality footballers for right wing. But again, we do have a great right winger at the moment. Well, he's a striker, but he's doing a job there in Mason Greenwood. So again, do United maybe look at right wing? Remains to be seen. But let's see what happens in the summer. But I've left this position for last, because for me, I think this is so important in terms of getting us from second to challenging for the title. I'm not even saying winning the title, because obviously I still think, even if we got all these four positions addressed, I think Manchester City are just they're a juggernaut, and I still think it's a hard ask to beat them to the title. But I think getting these strikers in who I have here on the list would definitely help us reach that level. So I'm going to have a look into it now in terms of this. So first striker, and he's top now. I'm going to go from first to fourth here. I'm going to go from my top choices. Okay, so just so no one gets twisted in terms of who I think is number one, number two, I'm saying it straight now. These are strikers who I think United should definitely go out and sign. First one. This striker is playing at a club that's in mid-table in the Premier League at the moment. Literally, they're one game away from not winning the trophy this season. Again, in my opinion, this striker is on par with probably joint best striker in the world at the moment. And this striker, if he wants to have ambition, he needs to leave it. If he wants to win something, he needs to leave the football club he's at. The striker I'm looking at is Harry Kane. Now, obviously, United and Daniel Levy and doing business, like whether likely or unlikely, how it is, that's another story for another day. But for me, I've said this before. If United want to act like a big club, and if we want to go out there, if we want to be serious about challenging, and you want to go in there and you want to be act like a serious club and act like a big club, you go out and get Harry Kane. You take him from a rival in Spurs, you weaken them, and you go out and you buy Harry Kane. Now, obviously, there was a report out a couple of days ago that Spurs are looking for 120 million for him at least. He's worth the money. He's 27 years of age. He's a player who he's playing so well at Spurs, scoring goals, creating chances. In the last 18 months, he's evolved his game to such a level where he's not just a goal scorer anymore. Like, he drops deep, he links up attacks. Like, I looked at his goal for the Europa League there last week, and like how he started the attack himself, and then like managed to get into the box and finish off the attack and score a goal. It was kind of Wayne Rooney-esque in terms of how he done that. But for me, with Spurs, if Spurs don't win the Carabao Cup this year and they don't finish in the top four, and even if they don't finish in the Europa League place, which is very possible, you go out and get him. I think that's someone, like, people talk about Haaland, who I'll get to in a minute, but I think Harry Kane, like, he's English, that's a marketable deal. Again, you go out there and you sign the best striker in the league at the moment. That sends out a big message to your rivals in terms of, being a team who means business. Now, obviously, look, do United go for him? I don't think so, right? I don't think United will go in for him. But for me, if I had the choice, of all the strikers I have on my list here, Harry Kane's the top of my list because I think he's so well rounded. He's just coming into his prime right now, but he's such a good player. And for me, with Spurs like faltering the way they are in the league at the moment, if Harry Kane has ambition and wants to win trophies and wants to be challenging for trophies, Harry Kane's the top of my list in terms of strikers. I really do believe that. Sean says, wait till Steve McGrath gets wind of this. Yeah, Steve would not be happy that I want Harry Kane at United. I don't think he'd be very happy about that at all. Shane's also in the house. Shane says, good evening, brother Keane. Good evening, Shane. I hope you're well. I hope you're enjoying work. I don't know if you're finished or not, but hope you're having a good day. Shane's also joining me on the podcast tonight as well, along with Adam. So do check that out. It's always good. It's always good to have Shane on. So look, do check that out. So obviously, look, Kane's my top choice. Do United get him? That's definitely a story for another day. But definitely someone who I would look at 100% because I think he's the best. Like on par with Lewandowski, I think he's the best striker in the world. 100%. Now look, I'm going to take a sip of water first, guys, before I get to the next one because I've been talking for 51 minutes and it's the first time I've done a show on my own and my voice is nearly going. So 1 second. Right. That should give my voice more time. So yeah, look, obviously second striker I have on the list is Erling Haaland. Obviously just saying that the market value is £100 million. He does have that release clause that gets activated in 2022. But Erling Haaland, again, if Dortmund finish outside Champions League, I think it's a very doable deal. Obviously, look, I'd say the front runners for Haaland are probably City, probably Chelsea behind that as well. United are probably third favourites to get him. But again, he's someone who elevates us at the next level. He's a fantastic striker. I think again, he's someone who elevates us. He's world class. He has that arrogance. He's everything what a Manchester United number 9 is. And I'm going to throw this at the comments now. I don't know if you agree with me, guys, but Erling Haaland actually reminds me a lot of Ruud van Nistelrooy in terms of how clinical he is in the box and just like his overall style of play. I think he's the striker of that ilk. So Haaland definitely is someone who I think United should look at. Now, again, the likelihood the deal is probably very low because, like, you look at obviously price tag. You look at other clubs who are going to be in for him. Obviously City, Chelsea as well. So like, look, if United want to go in and have a look at him, I think they should because he's a great player. And again, he's world class and he has arrogance. And again, I talk about this a lot. When you're a Manchester United player, you need to have that. You need to have that arrogance. You need to get about the pitch. You need to be like show that you're top quality. And again, Erling Haaland is that, and he's a generational talent. So for me, it's a no-brainer. And Shane says he's on his break. I thought I'd get all the latest scoop on United. Yeah, absolutely. This is where it's at, Shane. 100%. And Shane says, where is it gone now? Shane says, who's the Chelsea fan spamming the comments? Everyone reporting right away. Shane, do you know what though? Sean's getting you back because you spammed the London Lowdown show. So, that's the thing. Rachel doesn't agree with Harry Kane. She said he's a right knob. Sean says, stop pretending that you aren't my brother. And Greg says, Haaland would probably not leave this summer and go to Madrid or City next summer. Going to Chelsea, United leaves and still open to a Madrid /City / Barcelona, etc. Yeah, look, we'll see what happens with that. Oh, whoa. I'm after losing the comments there. What happened there? Kevin says Harry Kane is getting more injuries now with age, and he has a picture of Butters on his YouTube. That's fucked up. But anyway, obviously Erling Haaland, again, world class player. Again, look, someone who has that kind of arrogance and has that quality. And again, for me, he reminds me a lot of Ruud van Nistelrooy in terms of how clinical he is in the box and just aura. Just his overall aura as a striker. So, yeah, look, definitely someone who I'd look at. Again, do United do that deal? I don't know. Now, look, the last two strikers on my list are probably two strikers who aren't on our radar being honest. Obviously, the most talked about ones are the Kanes and the Haalands of the world. But these last two, I just looked at them and I kind of said, these are players who I'd like to see. Likelihood I'm very low. First one is Dominic Calvert-Lewin at Everton. He's obviously, look, you've seen this year's been his breakout season under Ancelotti. He's developed very well. He's scored a lot of goals, and his hold-up play is very good. He's good in the air, though he's clinical in the box, and he's young as well. So like he's a good player. But again, and this is why I think it's highly unlikely. Obviously, he's English. He's at a club in Everton who will demand a premium, probably would demand over the odds. So for me, I don't think this would ever happen. Again, I'd love to see him. I'd like to see United maybe look at him if we can't get the other two, because he is a very good player. Does Calvert-Lewin take us into a position where we challenge for the title? Probably not at this stage of his career, but he's so good, and he is a great player. I think there's plenty of development left in him in terms of reaching that next level. And obviously playing alongside players like Bruno Fernandes, and fingers crossed he stays, Paul Pogba. Like, I think he'd score a lot more goals than he's scoring at Everton at the minute. In that regard. So, like, look, I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin definitely is a shout, but again, the likelihood of United going and getting him, very unlikely. But just said someone I'd throw out there. It's going to come to a couple of comments just before. Obviously, I go to my last striker. Dale says, wouldn't bother with Harry Kane, ankles made of paper. Rich says she'd take Calvert-Lewin in a heartbeat. Shane says, think with Kane, he's guaranteed an injury every season, but this would likely be his final big move. If you got Haaland, he would probably look to move to Madrid or Barca in a few years. I'm just going to come to that comment there. And Phil Brown said this perfectly on the show. Even with Erling Haaland, right? You go in and get him for 2 or 3 seasons. He scores you goals and he wins you trophies. And he gets you back to the pinnacle. Who cares if he leaves in 2 or 3 years? Really and truly. Because if he's successful at United and he wins them trophies and he scores them goals, he may stay. He may stay at the club. He might be happy. Do you know what I mean? If he goes on to pastures new, so be it. I think Phil is bang on with this. And when he said this, it really clicked in my head, because Ronaldo done it. Ronaldo came to United from Sporting. Developed, scored a load of goals, left and went on to pastures new at Real Madrid. I don't get this little stigma that a player is going to leave a club after 3-4 years. Right, fair enough. Well, if in that 3 or 4 years we go on to win the title and challenge in the Champions League, why wouldn't you buy the player? It's a no-brainer. It's like same thing if he goes to Chelsea. I'm just going to throw Chelsea out there as that club, right? This is the same concept. If Haaland goes to Chelsea, right, he'll probably win a title for Chelsea and probably help him win the Champions League. Chelsea won't be his last move. He'd definitely go to Real Madrid or Barcelona or even Manchester City after that. Players like this in this day and age always move on. They don't just stay at one club. That day is up. Them days are gone. So for me, if Haaland is doable, you do it. And like Dale says here, like he take it for 2 to 3 years, and it makes us better. And he says makes us better for 2 to 3 seasons. And it says Phil is right. Like Shane says here, it makes sense, but you don't want to get into the habit of letting your best players go. It's a slippery slope. Look, I can understand from that point of view, but when you actually look at this day and age, name a young player that gets bought that doesn't go to 1 or 2 clubs. Do you know what I mean? Bar the exception of players who come up through youth and stay there throughout their whole career. Any top player in this day and age, they go to at least 1 or 2 different clubs. Like Aguero, before he went to Manchester City, he was at Atletico Madrid for a good few years and then went to City. Do you know what I mean? There's plenty of strikers out there who do go to 1 or 2 big clubs. Do you know? It's always going to happen. And like Dale says it here, like Shane's point also makes sense, but the modern game has changed with money, and players are always going to be on the move. And that's the thing. Like if you're going for a top player now, the days of buying a player that's going to stay there for 8, 9, 10 years is gone, right? Them days are over. It's very rare you see that now. Not unless you're, Arsenal and you buy a player and you think they're going to do well, but they're shit and they can't get rid of them. Do you know what I mean? But, in that regard, you have to look at these top players and you have to say, like, if United can get him, and he does well for 2 or 3 seasons, and wins us a league, and has us challenging for the Champions League, you have to say, wouldn't it be worth the money then? Do you know? Like, again, I can see why people have their reservations. Don't get me wrong. I'm not wholeheartedly disagreeing with you. I'm not coming at you, but you have to be honest with yourself in this situation. You have to say, do you take that success? I think, like, look, we're begging for it at the moment. I think we are. Again, obviously, you have the clowns running the club. Do they go out and buy these players? We don't know. It's just one of them things, isn't it? Like, you just have to hope for the best and hope that we show ambition to go back and be in a top club. Now, I'm not going to say, like, Joe, we're not going to do it. I always like to be positive, and I always like to think that there's plans in place, and I like to think we are going in the right direction. Though at this moment in time, though I think we do have to show more ambition. I think we need to keep moving and try show more progress. And do you know what? I'm not even going to go to my last player now, because actually I want to address something now as well. There's many Manchester United fans at the moment who are religiously wanting the manager out, and there's Manchester United fans who have gone to the lengths. If anyone who's seen social media last night and seen a certain Manchester United fan printing out a jersey of the manager's name and wanting him out, and the year he scored the goal in 99, and then blasting it on social media. I do not agree with this toxicity within the fan base and people who try to drive these agendas of wanting the manager out. Like, these fans are saying, these certain people are saying that they'd rather, even if he won the league at the club, that they'd still rather him leave the club because they don't like him as manager. I'd question your loyalty to the club as Manchester United fans, because even when there's evidence there, even when we win, you're second. So look, I'm just going to say this now. You're all unwanted at the club as a fan base. And if you're screaming for the manager to be out, and then, you know, not even celebrating when we win a game, where's your love for the football club, and where's your love for the game of football? Like, I have people on this platform who mightn't necessarily agree with the manager does sometimes. I sometimes have my reservations about the manager, but I'll always support the football club. I'll never abuse the manager. I'll never go out there and say, you know, he's not the right man for the job. I'll never go out there and scream for his head, because that's not level-headed. You have to be realistic in this world. You have to look at the progress we've made over the last 2 years. Like, at Jose Mourinho, under him, the club was in a very bad state when he was leaving. The academy, like, Dale, you're in the comments, you'll know this. The academy was in disarray. The dressing room, the morale in the dressing room was so low. Do you know, there's players wanting to leave the club. Do you know, we were in a very bad place. We were 6th or 7th in the league, and we're in a very bad place. The style of football was dire, and we were just in a bad place. And you look at what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done in the nearly 2.5 years at the club, or nearly 3 years even. He's helped rejuvenate the academy. He's brought through young players. We're playing better football. Now, obviously, you can talk about the semi-finals. I think there's still steps to be made, but he's showing progress. Like, I don't get it. If we finish second league this year, we win the Europa League, you'd have to say that's better than what Jose Mourinho has ever done at the club in a single season. Yes, he finished second, but he finished 19 points behind Manchester City. But all these people want Mourinho back, and they have pictures of Mourinho as their cover photo. Like, look, I think it's ludicrous, some of the stuff you see on social media. And I think this is where, like, football has kind of gone mad in that sense. Like, it's so blown up, and there's so agendas. Like, there's so many agendas. Like, look, I look at this and I say, I support my football club regardless of who is in charge. Whether it's Ollie, whether it's Mourinho, whether it was Van Gaal, whether it's Moyes, whether it's Sir Alex, or whoever it is, whoever's in charge, even Ryan Giggs for them 4 games. You support your football club through thick and thin. You can have an opinion on the manager, but when it gets to a stage that it's abusive and you're doing it for clickbait rather than love the club, then what I'd say is take a look in the mirror at yourself and have a very long think why you like the game of football and why you support the club that you support, and then come back to me. because I think there's a lot of toxic behavior within the fan base, and what it does, it incites, because these people have such a large following and a large platform, it incites hate, it incites abuse, and like you're seeing all this stuff with players at the moment, and the racism thing. Like you look all this stuff, all social media is powering a lot of that, and these people who have, with these people who have these large platforms are bad influences nearly. Now, some of these people, I'm just going to throw it out there now as well, because there's some people out there who have a large platform. They do great things. They do great things too. Like, obviously, like the Strefford Paddock and stuff like that. I like the stuff they do over there. They do fantastic work over there. Like, I like Adam McCall and that. They do great stuff. Obviously, Dale Stretty News, they do good content. Do I like OF United? They do great stuff too. And obviously, I like Adam's show as well. I'm on there. He does good content there too. But there's other platforms out there. I'm not going to name them, but we all know who they are. That what they're doing is just inciting negativity within the fan base, and what they're doing is that they're trying to drive an agenda just to get someone out, because they're saying the style of football isn't good. These same people are wanting Allegri in, they want Diego Simeone in, and they support Jose Mourinho. So I'll leave that to you guys. I just don't get it. I really don't. And again, this was a transfer show, but I felt like I just needed to address this at the end of the show, because for me, I'm not in agreement with some of the stuff. Like I said, like a guy replied to me on Twitter last night, and he said to me, if this person put Ollie in on the jersey, you'd praise him. Again, whether you're Ollie in, Ollie out, or you support United, at the end of the day, your main agenda should be you're supporting Manchester United Football Club. That's your address. You support this badge. That's what you support, regardless who is in charge. And I think that's the most important thing. But thanks very much to everyone for watching today. I didn't think I was actually going to go this long on the show today, just being on my own. Because I'm off work this week, I actually might do more of these this week. So let me know what we think, what you thought of today's show, and should I do more of these on a regular basis? Also look, and do smash like the video, do subscribe to the channel. We have a lot coming this week. I've obviously the United podcast back tonight. I've Shane and Adam on, where we will be chatting all things United. We'll be looking into the kind of the run-in that we have after the international break. Obviously a lot of big games, Brighton and Spurs and Granada and the Premier and the Europa League. So we'll be looking into all that obviously, and digesting the Europa League, the FA Cup on the weekend as well. So look, do check that out later on at 8 o'clock if you want, and I'll have the link up on my page and on the Weekly Armchair Twitter as well. And do check out the London Lowdown tomorrow. Sean is back tomorrow in the London Lowdown. He'll be in contact with me later as to what the guys will be talking about. So again, I'll send a tweet out later on as to who's going to be on that show. And I'm going to put out a poll actually after the show as well, because Ireland are obviously playing in the World Cup qualifiers. So I may actually do a watch along for the Ireland game, because we haven't really done much Ireland content on the Weekly Armchair. So I'd like to do a watch along for a watch along for the Ireland game. And look, if anyone's in the comments, who's in the comments today, if you want to jump on and watch the game live with me for the Ireland game, absolutely do. I'm going to do a watch along for it, and that'd be great. We'll have a crack. We'll obviously talk about what direction we're going with Ireland under Stephen Kenny and kind of all different stuff like that. But look, thanks everyone for watching. Do subscribe. Do subscribe to the channel, and look, hope you enjoy the rest of your day, guys. And look, do check us out at 8 o'clock if you wish to do so. Thanks very much, and I'll see you later.